आवाज आ रही है? हाँ ठीक. Yes. Some idea at least. All of you are going to write mains this time. Most of you. Okay. Have you done any ethics lectures before? You are done through foundation or something. So what is the basic problem that you felt as far as your understanding is concerned? This is, I am going to ask questions. It's not just that you'll sit and I'll speak, because ethics is not about some theories that I'll just propound here and you'll just receive and go and rewrite. That doesn't work. Ethics is about being creative from your side. Anyway, so what is the basic problem with ethics as far as Marx is concerned?
It takes time to think about what the question is asking and then write answers very quickly.
Very good. So basically that is a recent phenomena. Initially if you see 2013-14 types questions, it used to be very easy. Now question itself is like 3 pages or 2 pages case study. This is same like CSAT syndrome, you can say. Anyway, anything else? Okay, anything that you think what ethics GS4 is, what you understood till now? Anybody who are watching live, they can reply by typing so that you'll understand. Yes.
So there is a specific problem that I face, because everything looks simple, but here I don't know what to write.
Yes.
Concerning a specific, there has to be a specificity of an answer, but I can't figure out what specific I should write.
Yes, and see, it's not just specific to you, and I'm sure most of the people here also would agree. Reason being, the syllabus, the way they have designed UPSC, okay, normally we have some understanding of something called subject or paper, GS1, history, geography. We have some understanding. Basic is like, there will be some theory, we'll be trying to understand, conceptual things, remember things, and try to reproduce. If you see GS 1, 2, 3 is mostly about reproducing and connecting with current affairs. But with respect to ethics, it's not that way. Because have you ever come across the question like, bring out the difference between ethical relativism and ethical absolutism? Or giving examples? No. How the Kant's deontological approach is a critique to utilitarian point of view, something of that sort? No. But our sense of ethics, or when we start studying any topic for that matter for UPSC, our initial expectation is like this. Which book should I read so that I'll go and write? And that's why most of the people have this problem that, sir, material kya hai? Kya padhenge to ho jayega? Which is obvious, which is like, that is because somewhere, and see what happens is then you end up giving too much time, as you also mentioned, and you don't know what to write now. You read many things. Most of the students come to me as to which book should I read. See, if there was a book for ethics, book means some theory, some thinkers, okay, some conceptual, even the ethics, if at all NCERT starts ethics book, that is also not going to be of use, except few topics like attitude, emotional intelligence, and some topics of governance. Again, they are not asking, write a short note on success of citizen charter movement in India. No. Those syllabus talks about citizen charter, but they will not ask, because that is PubEd question or quality question. So please first try to understand. That's the basic. In fact, today's lecture, the basic thing is this. Try to orient yourself so that then what happens, with less efforts, you can focus on other things. With lesser possible efforts, you can get maximum possible marks in ethics. Otherwise, what we generally do, history, like you are going to write mains now. We'll complete history, then we'll study your optional geography, like that. And in the same context, we say I'm taking up ethics and I'll finish ethics. But वो finish नहीं होता, because क्या पढ़ना है ऐसा clear cut, there is no boundary. Okay. This particular course last year also we conducted, last year also we conducted. That is basically with this purpose, that we are expecting, this is like one-stop solution for you. Means you just follow these 20 lectures, 15 to 20, mostly 20, it depends on how you respond. If you want more lectures, we can continue, because there will be some lectures of case study and PYQs where you just sit and solve. And you'll be getting material, basic material also, and some enrichment in the sense of some examples, some personalities who are doing good works and stuff like that in written format. Nothing else you have to do for ethics. Literally, I'm claiming this very, this too adventurous for me to claim this, but nothing else. Just these 20 days, answer writing would be there, weekly test, mini test will be there, and the 3 sectional tests and all that, everything will be there. It is coupled with the GS test series. So somebody who has already taken admission, no need to take admission for the tests here. I mean only for the lectures. So lectures for perspective, material to just kind of go through, not revision typical, and just go with the flow with respect to the lecture. So this 20 days followed by the test, that's all. Nothing else you need to do for ethics. In fact, you will not have any time to do anything more than this. So all your doubts you can ask, all your basic concepts will be clear, the approach will be made ready, and then the things that you already know, things that you have residual knowledge from other topics like GS, current affairs, GS2 basically, all will be like you will be somehow made or trained or practiced to use that knowledge only. Otherwise, how would your answer will be unique if it is about theory? Ethics, if you start writing theory, then you're gone, right? So that's the basic model here. You got the point. Anybody having any doubt with respect to the course? Anyway, the same thing would be in PPT, but I thought first talk about it in the flow. Any doubt till now? Any doubt you have about course, structure? Are you able to grasp the structure, or it looks very amoeba kind of? Okay, going well. So first and foremost, okay, if I ask you why UPSC, you know UPSC syllabus, I mean prelims, means obviously. Why do you think syllabus is like that? Very basic question. Like, why is not engineering topics taught there? Why are not commerce topic being studied except for the optional? Because it's a generalist survey. This PubAd, you might have gone through, those who know, there is a debate going on between specialist versus generalist. This lateral entry issue is again the same issue, whether you want generalist or specialist. UPSC is general service, and that's why topics are very general. What they claim in CSAT, they are claiming 10th level. That aberration is a different thing, but otherwise also they claim it's very simple, basic, 12th, whatever is NCERT. That's why we study NCERT. So why do you think then, and why do you think they want you to study history, geography, polity, economy, environment, science, technology, agriculture, disaster? Why? Because sitting in the chair, most likely you're going to use that. Yes, it's not just randomly anything. Right from especially after 2011 and 13, UPSC has made the exam further more general. How? Why I am saying this? Yes, there was 2 optionals before. Now 2013 onwards, only 1 optional. So they don't want technical people now. They want again general. In the same continuation, you should look at ethics. So what is the purpose of ethics? Because they understood, rather than knowing technicality, it is better to understand, like better to that particular person, the student have understanding of these basic ethical issues. But again, as I said initially, it is not for any technical thing. Technical terms, some terms they want you to be knowing. But what happens? Only studying ethics will make you ethical. How many of you think that studying ethics will make you ethical? Then why ethics? UPSC, okay, do you think UPSC doesn't know that, by just giving paper, we can't make people ethical? They know, but then why have they come with this? Yeah, okay. But what happens if you are understanding? And by the way, who is unethical? Can you raise your hand? In general, I'm saying. Nobody. No one is mostly who are sitting here. And even if somebody otherwise will not claim. Why? Why would somebody proudly not say that? See, like I say, I don't know medicine, I don't know engineering. Okay, I am not an engineer person, I am not a mathematics person, I am not a commerce person. So can anybody say I am not a GS4 person? No. Why? Because then your worth, your existence, your this thing, permission to exist is in question. Because being a part of the society, one has to be ethical. So the point is, it's not that you don't know what ethics is. You may not know the terms, you may not know the keywords. You may know the feeling behind, but you may not know the term. Okay, that is the only purpose UPSC is also coming up. At least you know the term so that you can articulate to yourself whenever there is a dilemma. To yourself. Not ethics is not to explain others. Others anyway can see who is ethical, who is not ethical. Because your action speaks. But when dilemma is there, what happens? What to do? Sorry, what to do when dilemma is there? Who would explain to you? Yourself. So if you are explaining to yourself only, you will be able to successfully come out of it, right? So what happens is, when you understand the topics, for example, you talk about probity. What is probity? What is integrity? What is honesty? Being truthful, being to the one. Integrity is like what you say, what you do, everything. You know what is right. So your ability to stick to that and not creating two in yourself is integrity. Integrity is about oneness. Probity is about being accountable while doing things. Ready to probe, ready for the probe is probity. Means what? If I am doing anything, I know tomorrow nobody can question me. That is probity. Now, if you understand the difference between the two, what happens? What's the difference? Anyway, ultimately everything is honesty. But it doesn't work like that. Because being an administrator, when you know, just being honest is not enough. You should be clear on the paper, clear in the system, so that tomorrow somebody asks question, the person is satisfied. Okay, like we say, justice is not just to be done, it is also to be seen to be done. तो दिखना भी चाहिए. When it comes to the system, justice होना भी चाहिए और justice हो रहा है ये दिखना भी चाहिए. Okay, like that, when you know concepts, when you are clear about things, automatically your inclination to follow. Now I am not saying again, at the end of the all the course, you will be like suddenly becoming very ethical. It isn't going to be, but at least some sense of inclination will start. Inclination starts means because you started appreciating something, because you will understand so many people have already put thought into many things that we know. Mahatma Gandhi, we know Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, we know Swami Vivekananda, Abdul Kalam, some thoughts of them. But when you come across, when you read about other thoughts of him or others, all the leaders that we have, we again tend to appreciate that particular thought more. Like when you read Swami Vivekananda, he focuses on character. Now what is character? What is character? What do you understand by character? You need to, this is the thing, basically the term I am very sure that you know the term. But if I ask you to explain, that's exactly the problem in the writing answers. It's like I will do this, like case study. What we do? I will do this. But it's not just that decision. You have to be detailed. So, what is character? Have you heard this word before? I'm sure. If you if you are, you know, forced to define character, what would you, how would you define character? Okay, behavior. Okay, it is about behavior, but behavior is different, character is different. Personality trait is not a, it's a amoral concept, like somebody has negative personality trait. Positive. Character in itself is positive thing. Character building, when we say, what character? Is it inherent or it is manifested? See, the most important word in character is consistent. So, over the period of time, your behavior should be ethical. Then only you consider to be character, person with a character. So, it's not, you do 2-3 things, not the person with the character. Over the period of time, so character is something is not you have. Please understand. Honesty is something you have, follow. Integrity is something you have or follow. Character is something you build. So character, if you join service tomorrow, nobody is going to judge your character within first 1 year. It is built by your actions and thoughts. Now this now again, this already you might be knowing. I am very sure once I explain, you are like, yeah, I understood. But the point is, when I asked, suddenly it's very difficult. That's the basic purpose of UPSC also, so that you should be able to properly present what it means to you. So now you know being honest is a different thing. I mean, it's an initial thing. Building character is a different process. And so somebody talks about character, then you know character can only be built by consistent, honest behavior, consistent ethical behavior. So how and why character is important? But then your intention, once your character is built, then you no need to no need to convince others what you really want to do, because over the period of time you have showcased it. And this is very, very crucial for IAS, IPS or whatever, because I'll tell you from my own experience, and it is very famous among bureaucracy. After your first posting, 2-3 years, your first transfer, whichever service you might be, your character reaches before you reach the location. Everybody, juniors, subordinates in the office that you're going to join, and if you are IAS, IPS, the people, the majority representative here, public representatives, they already know what kind of person you are. With respect to corruption, with respect to decision making, with respect to personal life, everything they know. So what happens? If your character is clear, it is so easy, it helps a lot, because half of the work, half of the problems are already solved. Because some kinds of people who have a different, inclination, they will not come to you. They know he is not going to do that particular work, corruption or whatever, because they know if this particular person is honest and strict, for example, and the character is already, and it's not because of some 1 or 2 instances you did, it's over the period of 3 years they have seen. Second, third posting, no need to do anything, just join, they know what kind of person you are. In fact, sometimes it happens that they know your what kind of tea you like, they already know. So they'll start preparing that kind of tea before you reach there. So much details they know, because you are sitting at a very important position. Everybody is looking at you. You know what happens with all the politicians? The area that they represent, especially in rural areas, they know each and everything of that politician. Each and everything. You know what type of food the person eats also. Everybody. Why? Because he has to be very, public life means he has to be very open book. That's what Mahatma Gandhi used to say, my life is my life is my message. I have nothing else to say. Okay. So this is our exam point. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So when you understand, you appreciate. When you appreciate, you incline to follow it. When you incline, automatically things start getting internalizing. From this to this is very, very crucial for our examination, and especially last is you need to have that articulation. You need to have stuff to write in the examination. Okay, any doubt till now? Yes. Now this is also another important point, because what I have realized is, if you look at the main problem that people face with respect to ethics is their conception of ethics is very uniform as compared to other papers. It's like same, give me book, I'll read, revise and go and reproduce, and then you don't get marks. What books do you read for essay? Or I mean, you'll be reading some books here and there, but is there any book of this NCERT, you read this, from there essay is going to come? No. Why? Because again, that is, so this is not very different from how essay and interview is. And just imagine, apart from your optional, essay, interview and ethics are going to be they generally decide nowadays who is in the list or who is not in the list, except optional. Optional obviously has its own. So the typical people say GS, but then the most return on investment, highest return on investment is given by ethics, essay and interview. And I generally club these together because ethics is closer to essay than GS 1-2. Why? Because again, it's not technical. If you write technical, you are not going to get marks like essay. Write technical essay, you will not get marks. Like for example, last time the essay was, and this happened with some of my philosophy students also, the real is rational, rational is real. It's a proper concept given by Hegel and in philosophy. But you are not required to write, even without writing the word Hegel, you can have very good marks in essay, in that essay. How? You are not expected to write theory. What's the point in writing, how Hegel came to that particular conclusion, the whole philosophy of Hegel is not required there. So, essay again, not technical. Ethics, as I said, barring attitude, emotional intelligence and some topics, no technicality. And even attitude and emotional intelligence, also sometimes they don't ask technical questions. Like last year what they have asked, some people have positive attitude towards the problem, some people have negative attitude towards the problem. Okay, so what is the what makes somebody to have positive attitude towards something? Now this is very, very general. What positive attitude towards any social problem for that matter, or any problem, even any administrative problem that you have to solve something. Now what is your attitude towards it? Positive means, negative means. So it seems like very straightforward general, but point is, you need to able to write that for 10 marks, 150 words within time, right? So it is not general studies, it is general sense. Why now? By now you might be already understood why I am saying this. Why it is not general studies but general sense. Okay, you don't agree, it's general studies only. How many of you say that no, it is general studies only, it's not general sense? वो कुछ भी समझ नहीं है, ये क्या मतलब है ऐसा? Anybody, anything that you feel you should say. That's what my point is. Yeah, I don't agree. There is nothing called general studies, general sense difference. Everything is general sense only, or everything is general studies only. My major task every time I start this thing is to break this, that and obviously it's like going to be initially maybe kind of a cultural or intellectual shock for you, in the sense this is how, like I was thinking something else, like there will be some notes, I'll just read and write. Notes will be there, obviously there will be notes, basics, so that it will help you to kind of have some vocabulary, some articulation, something with it. So okay, what do you, first of all, how many agree that it is general sense and not general study? Okay, some. How many do not agree? You do not agree. Yes, you tell me now.
So we need general sense, but apart from general sense, we need to study something.
Yes, but obviously, see, it's not watertight. I am not talking about in absolute terms. But can you write general sense in geography? No, it's proper study. They will ask concepts. You cannot write, my theory of my tectonic theory. You cannot write my tectonic theory, right? But in ethics, they themselves ask, what do you mean by these three quotes? Just imagine 30 marks question is, what do you mean by the following? In present context, that's okay. But what do you mean by? Have you ever heard this question in geography or science? What do you mean by plate tectonic theory? No, define, explain. That itself is a difference. Optional, what do you mean? What do you think about Immanuel Kant with respect to his idea of XYZ, for example? No, they don't ask that. This is the kind of question they ask here. Means what? Now it is still under the, it's behind the curtain. We don't know how they are evaluating that, because it's pretty subjective. They have some objective criteria to give marks, but till now what we have realized by empirical data or empirical experiences that students have shared, the simple you write, more marks you get. Simple means, simple doesn't mean anything, but simple it means straightforward, without much jargonized, without much basic technical basic keywords you should be using. Obviously you should not be beating around the bush, but if you write too technical, then you are not getting marks in ethics and essay both. Okay, so in that context I had come up with this understanding, is that it is more about you having that general sense rather than having general studies. So somebody says that I have read XYZ book, in that there is so many theories. How Aristotle looked at ethics, how Plato looked at it, how John Stuart Mill looked at it, how Bentham and other fellows looked at it, how what is the recent trends in ethical studies, descriptive, normative, okay, nothing of that sort. Yes, for sake of understanding you may know something, this is also where ethics can be seen. The basic, what are the basic question on which, basic theme on which there have been always question in ethics, is that, is ethics spatio-temporal or it is without space and time consideration? Now this seems very technical, but it's not technical concept, it's simple. Is it changing every time or it is fixed somewhere? So it is both. It is changing broadly over the period of time, like across 50 years, 100 years, like. But within that thing, it is fixed. You cannot suddenly change the constitution every day. But yes, it is, and it is not fully subjective also. It's not that what I think ethical is ethical. No, there is some objectivity. Okay, so ethics are objective or subjective? Both. Subjective in the sense that it is not like a scientific fact. It keeps changing, especially some social aspects. Same-sex marriages used to be a big unethical act once upon a time. Now opposing that is unethical. Now creating problem to them is unethical, right? Somebody whose husband is died, she wants to live, is a most unethical thing. Now how can she live? For whom she is living? She should, self-immolate herself. But now asking someone to do that is not just unethical, but it is illegal. Yes, it's a crime. So over the period of 100 years, things change, and especially after 2000, normally we call millennials, they have their own ethical system now. We'll come to it in detail as to how some ethical values are still universal. However, society has changed. Nobody said that honesty is not ethical value. Right from time of Buddha or before that Indus Valley till today, be it India or Western countries or Middle East or whichever cultural thing, all cultural have come up with the basics. So there are some universal ethical values also. So we will come to that. Ethical, are they universal, are they relative? They're part of the syllabus. So point is, it is about having that basic sense. Then what happens? Then whatever otherwise residual knowledge you have from GS2, GS3, current affairs, newspapers, articles, examples, that only you are going to write in examination. And then only, because the most important thing remains in ethics is how unique is your answer. I mean, at least examples should be unique. What happens? Everybody studies that year, or most of the ORN studies 1 or 2 notes. Everybody having same Armstrong Palme example in all the papers. Why? He is the only person. Durga Shakti Nagpal in 2015-16, I guess. Everybody is writing Durga Shakti Nagpal only, as if there is no other officer working. Because why? That is there in notes. So what I think, and it's very difficult to read in notes and write, rather than just read newspaper, you understand. For that, you need to have that lens before. Looking at this, you are like, yes, this is very something that I can write in ethics. Then, and it's very, very easy. I'm saying it's very less stressful to have your own small diary and keep putting things that you encounter and you think makes sense to ethics. It's very, very, because then you don't need to read that, because you yourself found out and put it in. I'm sure in the examination for 3 years, that in that 3 years, most likely you are going to remember either some things that you discussed in class or something that you encounter yourself. You practice in our test series, you will realize it's very difficult to remember what was there in the notes, and that example only I will write. So let's do it easy, and it will be more unique also, so easy also. Okay, so interview on paper we already explained. Marks compared we already told about that. Okay, any doubt till now? आप कुछ बोल ही नहीं रहे, एकदम सन्नाटा टाइप्स कैसे एकदम. Okay, anybody? Okay. Tell me any time where honesty is considered wrong value. Means? Okay, so see, the point is now, this person, did he knew that he is going to kill you? If he doesn't know, then he has no ethical botheration there. Like for example, you give me some packet to give it to him. Okay, that packet, and you are a trustworthy person for me. I don't know what is there in that particular packet, and I just gave it to him. And by eating or whatever, he died. Am I responsible? Ethically, technically, no. I may feel emotionally guilt or whatever, that's another story. But because problem is you misuse the trust. You send me some, something that kills him. So messenger is never to be blamed in this particular situation. Like that, yes. What do you mean by, see, honest, what do you mean by honest in stealing?
Like, he's honest with himself. Like,
honesty is never with himself. Ethics starts when more than one person. Ethics can never be, I am very honest to myself. It had nothing to do with ethics.
Suppose there is a group of 100 people and all 100 of them they are very honest.
See, ideology is not ethics. I think that, this particular religion is the best in the world. Genuinely, I think. That doesn't mean terrorists are ethical. Jihadis are ethical. They themselves think whatever they will think. That's why we need universal values. Like, if a particular religion or whichever religion, a particular ideology, for example, communist ideology, they want to make the whole world red by killing. Why? If you really have a point, convince. Ideology की तो बात कर रहे हो ना? Ideology is something, it's intellectual. Just convince if you really think. So these are like basic. And see, have you noticed there was some on the first page, this thing, I had written one golden rule. क्या था वो? कितने ने पढ़ा तो होगा क्योंकि बहुत देर तक मैं लेट आया था. Read it. What is it called? उस पे वो भी लिखा था. वो क्या है? The golden rule. Yes. So basic of ethics is this. We'll come to that. But now that you asked this question, basic of ethics is this. If I was at your place, what I would have expected from you is what you should do. Then that the other side. That's all. And that only is ethical. The rest all is unethical. So in your example, the thief, like for example, this is a very famous example famous quote given by Kant, that all the thieves in the world might be thinking that stealing is my job, it's my profession. But no thief would like that his house is robbed. कोई ये नहीं चाहेगा कि मेरे घर में चोरी हो. Why? If you think thief stealing is a good behavior or not bad behavior, then let everybody do it. Another test for ethics is anything that you wish everybody in the world should do is ethical. So you think whatever my decision X, okay, everybody should do in the world, then only it is ethical. Otherwise, how it is ethical? Making sense? And in your example, first of all, as I was telling, if I don't know whether you are going to kill the person or not kill the person, see, if you know, then your responsibility is not with respect to this act, your responsibility is with respect to saving the person, okay, and saving the life is being honest here. Here honesty is not just, okay, being truthful with respect to some words, it is about being ethical. It's very commonsensical. No, it's not about being honest. And you know, like for example, if some criminal is there, would you support the criminal or oppose the criminal? Why? He is also human being. Why are you opposing him? So that means punishing any human being would be bad. Here, by not telling him where you are punishing him because of his behavior. And your moral responsibility to save the other person. Here honesty doesn't come into picture. This is the problem. That's have been the initially, when we study ethics, everybody gets into this very, to be very honest, non-commonsensical or too intellectual, unnecessary intellectual stuff in ethics. No need to think about this. There are approaches, different approaches, utilitarian point of view. Somebody says, ethics are inherently there by virtue of it, you have to follow it. Deontological approach, that I'll just be honest. Everybody has the common sense, including Kant also had. He will never tell the terrorist, come here, I'll show the way, go and, this is the way, Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus and Kasab, Mr. Kasab, please go and do whatever you want to do. Who will do that? It's, not at all commonsensical. Because then you are applying your discretion. You are applying your discretion and by that people are going to get killed, right? So these are, जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, एक बाल की खाल, वो वैसा वाला हो गया कि एकदम छोटी छोटी चीजों में. UPSC is never asking these kind of questions. Have UPSC asked any time this question that tell me the situations where honesty can be compromised? No, they will not ask this kind of, because then honesty, compromise, these two words UPSC will never bring together, because they are looking from a different perspective, that this is a very, ethics is to some extent a normative thing. क्या सही है, क्या गलत, right? So what ought to be done is is to be publicized. जो कर नहीं सकते उसको publicize क्यों करेंगे? So UPSC is also thinking that rather than getting into the intellectual discussions, they are asking what practically you can do about it, and see the questions. PYQ जैसा कोई source नहीं है, especially for ethics. Right. Previous year questions is the gold mine for you. If I can guarantee you somebody, and we are going to do the same, my main job is that only. So that you write all the PYQ. All in the sense, some in class, some otherwise, and some out of your inspiration to write it. Practice questions. You write, obviously show it to me or send it to me, whichever is the situation. And I can guarantee you, जैसे मैंने बोला, all the PYQs, basic notes and basic concept building. That's all. There is nothing else in ethics. Just focus on your option so that you can go close to 300. What all optionals you have, by the way? Okay, anthropology छोड़ के और कौन से? Mathematics. और anthromath छोड़ के? Sociology. Anthro-socio तो वो करण सर, निशाद सर. Okay, maths? आपका civil engineering है? Oh, very good. So, okay, anybody has written mains before? Okay, लिखे हैं. Okay, 3 लोगों का है. तो बाकी पहले बार लिखते हैं mostly. Okay, good. So, 300 तक जाने बिना जाए तो लिस्ट में अच्छा रैंक तो मिलने वाला नहीं है, ऑप्शनल की बात. आफ्टर दैट 130 प्लस कम से कम एथिक्स में वी हैव टू ट्राई, एंड एवरीथिंग इवन इन ऑप्शनल आई एम श्योर with be it Karan sir or others, whoever, Nishad sir or whoever optional you are, everybody will be focusing on PYQ, because and PYQ is something, it's like this, it's your responsibility. in the sense, because it's like a direct connection, because we cannot conduct PYQs and we cannot conduct test series and put PYQs in it, doesn't make sense. Test series is for rehearsal, but practice answer writing means PYQ. Okay, we'll come to that. So what are the different types of questions they have asked till now? Some are basic concepts. Personal experience also they've asked, you know this? Any personality that you think have inspired you, like these kind of questions they ask. Now from which book would you read this? For me, some personality is important. How? Why? Inspiring personality. How would you write it? Okay, what is the answer to this question? How many answers would be to this particular question? That any personality that you think inspired you, blah, 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 whatever. As many students, that many answers may be. Not everybody should write Swami Vivekananda. I'm not saying you can write whichever you think, but you can write about your some local leader. You can write about some Padma awardee which you impacted really, you know, looking at the way she or he has done on the ethical work or contribution to society. Anything, open up that thing. Don't get, you know, this, as I said, no, Durga Shakti Nagpal, 3, 4, 5 examples, Ashok Khemka, like only that much. There are so many people, and in fact, more recent examples. We'll provide you some compilation to help you, some new recent ones. You know, some 3, 4 liners about the personality. What did the person do? So that it will help you. But I would suggest, again, you should think about what the person did and why and what was the logic behind for these kind of questions, or any examples also. Whenever you talk about some ethics, morality, social contribution, or other social issues like caste, patriarchy, question comes like this. You know, one of the question was atrocities against or crime against women. बढ़ रहा है, क्यों बढ़ रहा है? Now this is not GS2 paper, you know, or not even sociology, you know, patriarchy, this model, that model, no. Simple, straightforward. What all happens, 2, 3, right from Nirbhaya, all other things you should be knowing, you should be quoting there. Crime against women. And then, what are the ethical angles? What happened? Materialism, consumerism, transactional nature of life. You know what is transaction? This is a very important term. You would be required to use at least 1 or 2 questions. Transactional nature of life means? You do something only because you'll get something. So, because transaction is something, then there is no ethics if it is transactional. Ethics means something you do because you know somebody else's pain will be reduced, suffering will be reduced, or happiness would be increased, whichever way. Mostly ethics is about suffering. If there is no suffering, there is no ethics. Ethics means basically put efforts to reduce somebody's suffering, like that. Okay. Anyway, ideal personality, personal experience. Okay, there is one more question. I think it got repeated. What do you mean by crisis of conscience? And narrate an incident in your life which you think you have had a crisis of conscience, and how did you resolve it? Now, crisis of conscience, everybody is like Arjun. Every example is Arjun on the Kurukshetra, he is having crisis of conscience. He is not the only person having crisis of conscience. In fact, I'll tell you, if you go through PYQs, there will be at least 4 or 5 case studies which had talked about crisis of conscience. Just instead of Ramesh, you put Suresh, that's the only difference. What's the problem? Incident is incident, no? So, if you, in fact, most of the case studies that UPSC has given is the fodder material for the wordings and the situations and the examples. You just, and most of the case studies are here and there, changes here and there based on some of the true stories, because the people who were sitting there, they would have seen something happening. He himself would have, as an officer, would have gone some dilemma. His friend would have gone through some dilemma. That only comes into the paper. That's why it becomes very lengthy also, because they have to establish a whole scene in front of us. Okay? Yes. Personal experience is personal experience, because it's not about whom you are quoting. It's about how you are quoting, or what you are writing about, and what you are bringing out of it. Are you depicting ethically? Somebody quoted some, as I said, some local leader, some leader as in not political leader, some social contributor, in that particular remote area of the Chhattisgarh. What's the problem? You introduce, only thing is you have to little bit introduce. But if you are able to convey only, you cannot just write names and then we expect you to go Google and see what the person has done. That should not be. The only benefit of quoting famous personalities is that everybody already knows them. Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Abraham Lincoln, others. So, because looking at the name only we know what the person is going to talk about. So, there is no restriction. Okay, it depends. Once you start writing, you will realize, because you write and then you show, I will tell you how it has to be. Quotes. Okay, how many of you find it's very not just comfortable, but very comfortable when it comes to quotes? Quote, or somebody like quote, you know, that itself is big headache for me. Just imagine 30 marks already declared to you, question ये आने वाला है. Only thing is कौन सा quote आने वाला है ये नहीं पता, but quote आने वाला है वो आपको पता है. 30 marks fixed. Every year only, except in 1 year they have not asked 3 quotes, only 2 quotes. But again in that particular year they have asked quote in other format in the same paper. So without quote there is no question paper. 30 marks is, now tell me this 30 marks and case study how much? 120 marks. So 150 marks is without any without reading a single paper you can go and write. Unless, I mean, only if you have a writing practice. Like you know how to write what on the basis of whatever you know. So you read something, okay, you can quote from Amar Chitragatha, why not? It's about moral example, if it suits them. You want to say something? This is the thing. We would be giving you collection of quotes, but collection of quote, it's like, see, you are mathematics optional, no? Let me give you a very interesting example. Now, if you start counting from 1 to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1000, 1 lakh, 10 million, when would you reach infinity? So, quote is like this. If you start collecting, it is UPSC will ask, every time will ask some random quote that you have never heard of, because they are so smart, no? Some quote would be repeated. So, my point is, you have a wherewithal, instruments to handle any quote. Ask me any quote, there is a strategy to work out. Any quote if you ask, I will write answer. Then what's the problem? Or you want to cover all the quotes only, then only you will be able to write quote. Then as like mathematics, you will never reach there, because there are million, trillion quotes. Okay, so covering as a matter of practice you cover, not because the same should be repeated. And let me tell you, if you, it's like, quote is like an essay. Is there any difference between 250 marks quote essay and 10 mark quote? No difference. Only difference is the size. Because same, all the quotes can be essay topic, right? So in essay what happens? I'll tell you. If you write an essay, especially philosophical topics I am talking about. Practical topics, yes, there is a different story, that is, you know, technological development, AI and health, something like that. Keep those topics aside for time being. Philosophical topics, you know, if you happen to write the same topic today, I mean before exam, most likely your essay is not going to be good enough, because you will be trying to remember and rewrite, because अरे ये तो मैंने लिखा हुआ ऐसे आया. Philosophical की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. Technical में फायदा होता है because you already know the facts, but philosophy में if you're already written the quote, you know, I think therefore I am, for example. You know whose quote is this? नहीं होगा philosophy. No. At least you should know. That's what I'm saying. Because the person is a mathematician. Nietzsche नहीं, Nietzsche तो बहुत बाद में. Descartes. Okay, René Descartes. Descartes से ही फिर वो Cartesian word आया. Descartesian means Cartesian. So उसका क्या मतलब है? I think therefore I am. You can take it in a different way. उसने जो भी बोला हो. But problem is if you write it now and the same comes, most likely you yourself will not be happy while writing. आपको you will not be in the excitement of writing. It happens. So the quote also, it's always better that you attempt a new quote. But then your answer will be very easy, straightforward, simple. Most likely to get more marks. So for the matter of acquiring the skill to tackle code, practice code, not to cover, because cover होगा भी नहीं. और जितना, I am not saying do less, do maximum, practice 100 codes, that's not an issue. And even if एक आध code repeat भी हो गया, like the same code, it's also okay. I'm not saying that. But the app, that is the thing. In other GS 1, 2, 3, you cover things. You, okay, this is starting point, this is the end point. When you don't know the end point, how would you cover? You just try to gather maximum possible. And the same thing should be kept in mind in code. We will be focusing, yes. Immaterial. Even if the same code comes and remove Mahatma Gandhi, doesn't make difference. If it is there, it helps us to understand what might be the connotation of the code. Because if he says, my life is my message, and there is no Mahatma, instead of Mahatma Gandhi, we wrote something like Abraham Lincoln. What's the difference? Same would be the answer, no? My life is my, and by the way, actually also there are 2-3 more people have said the same thing. My life is my message. Not just Gandhi, because they did not, they at their level did not know, they also felt the same logic about life, same experience about life, like okay, don't ask me any message, I have no message, my life is my message. You go and check what I have done is my this thing. Now my life is my message means character again, because my life my message means whatever I want to say, so called ethical message means has to be always ethical. No, nobody says that go and do wrong things very perfectly. Nobody says that. Means message means you talk about something ethical, and that ethical I have already lived. So whatever problems I had, I have tackled. So the quote is trying to communicate what is character, like that. So quote we will specifically have at least 2 lectures. We will see only discussing about quote, how to tackle any quote for that matter. See, looking at quote, you are like, now I know how to kind of operate upon it, how to come to the what is the basic message, how to write, what is there point wise writing, examples, whatever. People ask, can I write quote within a quote, something like that. So you at least start writing, you'll understand writing quote within quote is not a good idea, but not a completely prohibited thing. See, quote is something which is complicated, loaded, or it is simple, straightforward. If I ask you, quote as a statement is a very simplistic statement or it's a loaded statement? Loaded. Looks simple, it's okay. What it is, the quote itself means it's loaded. Otherwise, in one line, how would you say so many things? I mean, it is loaded. It has its own meaning. It's not just, I see that there is person sitting. It's a straightforward statement. There is no hidden meaning in it. So when quote already is a complicated statement, why you want to write quote again? You are asked to just simplify what do you mean by it. No, you want to write one more quote. So you are complicating the thing. But that 1 or 2 quotes, some specific questions, if you are really apt something, we can see. If you write and show it to me, it makes sense. I may say, okay, it's okay. But by and large, be simple. And it's very easy to be simple in this particular thing. Quote, just simplify what it means and then try to write some examples. Examples would always help. Why would example help in ethics? Because the long story is, you just told about the personality, this person, Mahatma Gandhi, as Mahatma Gandhi lived life. You explain what character is. Like that. That's why example was. Case studies will have almost a whole week. I mean 4 to 5 lectures only on the case study. Now this is still very cramped for you because we cannot have the full 60-70 lectures like that. We cannot have. It's only barring PYQ. There are only 15 lectures. Within 15 lectures, we'll try to touch upon all the topics, answer writing, but PYQs will have extra lectures. Means you sit and you write, we'll discuss and things like that. So, and I'm sure at the end of that thing, it will be, especially at the end, I can guarantee you will be pretty clear about and pretty confident. Okay, now I understood ethics. I can tackle any question. There is no botheration. Preparation is still go on, but now it will be like how to do it suddenly. It's blocked kind of thing, isn't it? कैसे पढ़े समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. like that. Okay. So mostly जो apart from case study we'll discuss later. These are the 4 things that again ये बाद में भी और discuss होगा, we'll be discussing this, but when it comes to answer writing, these are the things that you should be mostly focusing upon. What is the demand? Like any question comes, immediately you should think what's the demand of the question, because it's only for 10 marks. You cannot write the whole Ramayana there, like whole story from here and there. No. Arguments means what? See, by the way, argument is, your answer is nothing but arguments, not just in ethics, everywhere. What is the point is your answer. Rest all is beating around the bush. Ethical values. This is very important, but this will again come as you practice more. Keywords automatically, if you practice more, automatically it starts appearing. And substantiation. Substantiation is always with respect to, with the help of examples. So anything that you say, so every answer is made up of, basically this is the initial point, this is would be on the paper. Without these there is no answer. That's all. So you have to, but again initially it might sound that every question how would I find this? If you practice, this is exactly what we are going to practice. If you practice, ये भी कोई tough चीज नहीं है. कोई doubt यहाँ पे? तो ये तो पता ही होगा. This paper will include questions to test the candidate's attitude and approach to issues relating to integrity, probity in public life, and his problem-solving approach to various issues and conflicts faced by him in dealing with society. Questions may utilize the case study approach. ओके, सो बेसिकली वही चीज जो हम बोल रहे थे, ये यूपीएससी का स्टेटमेंट है, सिलेबस का ये है. कितने लोगों ने सिलेबस पूरा अच्छे से पढ़ा हुआ है? सभी ने तो पढ़ा ही होगा वैसे. किसी ने नहीं ढंग से नहीं देखा है अभी तक, नहीं देखा, ठीक, कोई बात नहीं. बट द पॉइंट इज वो उसी में है सब, सिलेबस एंड पीवाईक्यू उसी में. उससे ज्यादा दैट इज योर गो टू थिंग्स. रेस्ट बुक्स एंड ऑल दे आर सेकेंडरी. एनी बुक फॉर दैट मैटर, इट्स सेकेंडरी. How many of you, and as I already mentioned about this, how many of you gone through all the PYQs at least, not solved? कि पूछ क्या रहे हैं? नहीं, तो ये बहुत ही important है. No problem, but because another you still have another 2 days, because the first lecture will be starting would be on Thursday, not tomorrow. First lecture. There are 2 more days. First lecture, proper syllabus, ethics and human interface, human values, will start on Thursday. So you have 2 days to just go through, just read. Forget about solving, forget about anything. What have they asked? In one sitting you can do it. Just have to read question paper. So ethics and human interface, okay, attitude, aptitude and foundational values, emotional intelligence. Why emotional intelligence is part of the syllabus? The syllabus is very, what we can say, something like not very structured. I never find that, I don't know who made the syllabus. Very just like that, ऐसे डाल दो थोड़ा थोड़ा, हाँ हो गया. There are spelling mistakes also, वो अलग बात. यूपीएससी के नोटिफिकेशन वो चेंज भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो बाकी सिलेबस में भी मिलेगा. फिलोसफी ऑप्शनल की सिलेबस में स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक, कॉमा मिस्टेक. एनीवे, कमिंग बैक टू द पॉइंट, सिलेबस जो है वो इंडिकेटिव है, मतलब उनको ज्यादा टेक्निकलाइज, वो जानबूझ के दे हैव मेड इट श्योर दैट दे डोंट टेक्निकलाइज दिस पेपर एट ऑल. अदरवाइज इफ समबडी हु इज डूइंग पीएचडी इन रिलेटिव और एथिकल रिलेटिविज्म, वो देख के बोलेगा ये एथिक्स है ही नहीं, ये तो 10वीं क्लास का है, ऐसे बोलेगा जो उसमें एक्सपर्ट है. Why? Because, and this is expected, it's very like ethics, integrity and aptitude. That's the topic of the paper. Now what is, see, ethics, integrity and aptitude. I mean ethics and integrity, what's the relation between ethics and integrity? So why not ethics, compassion and aptitude? Why integrity? Integrity is one of the values. Ethics at least we understand. Ethics is a set of values and a stream of study and all that. What is integrity? It is integrity set of values. Integrity eligible to be given name to a topic, I mean subject. It is a value. Why not ethics, honesty and aptitude? But because there is no connection, because as I said, they don't want to keep it very technically correct. Just simple ethics, integrity, aptitude, and something like that. They would have write etc. also in the topic. Like we have history, geography. They have ethics and integrity, and aptitude. And aptitude is a small, very small part of the syllabus. They could have said, okay, what could have I asked this every batch? What do you think should have been title of the paper? If you are UPSC member or somebody who has asked ethics, only ethics, ethics in governance, ethics and governance. Looking at the syllabus, looking at the things that we have discussed till now, what do you think would be? ऐसे होता था ना, पहले एक पैसेज आता था, उसका टाइटल लिखना होता था, इंग्लिश में भी आता था, तो उतना तो करो, that much at least. Ethics is good, okay, only ethics, okay. How many of you would continue with integrity being there? Why? Because UPSC ने दे दिया है. Who told you? Compassion also important. Is compassion, integrity same? So ethics, integrity and compassion. That's all. Okay, values could be okay. That could have been still better, as he also mentioned, ethics and governance, ethics in public service. Yes, that makes sense because paper is for that. Governance is also good, this thing. So, see, you understand how they have come up with. So, their basic expectation is not that you should be knowing everything theoretically. Their expectation is you have the basic essence you should understand and you should be able to write the answer. Like for example, see, aptitude, foundational values of civil service. They themselves are saying that integrity is foundational value, already mentioned. Then why not impartiality also part of the title? Why not non-partisan part of the title? Objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion towards the weaker section. Now, compassion towards the weaker section, ठीक है. What is this empathy doing there? Is empathy ethical value or a compassion ethical value? Or both? वैसे टेक्निकली अभी तक का आप बोलेंगे बोथ है, वैसे तो सिंपैथी भी है, अच्छा ही है. बट व्हाट इज एम्पैथी? Okay. So, and what's compassion then? So, if you are into somebody's shoes, for example, if somebody is inside somebody's shoes, there is some problem, some discomfort, then only you want to get into his shoes, yes? Or you want to get into Ambani's shoes, then it's not empathy. Then different, you want to get into the shoes of some tribal. Why? Because there is some suffering. Now, if you get into some shoes which has suffering, what would you? Wouldn't you automatically try to reduce the suffering because you are feeling it, or you are feeling suffering, and you don't want to remove it? Is it possible? You yourself are going to some pain, and you are not putting any efforts to get rid of it. Is it possible? So, if you are getting into somebody else's shoes, you already started working on it. Making sense? So, what's the difference between these two? Sympathy, what is sympathy? Sympathy is not an ethical thing, by the way. Sympathy is just a practical thing. There, if you are in pain, I will make sure that I will not increase your pain. Be sympathetic. Under say you might be whatever, be sympathetic means try to be, because if I was in that position, see, in that way, if I say everything is that reduces pain or not increases pain is ethical. And in that context, UPSC also, UPSC will never ask this question, though it has been discussed for 10 years now. When UPSC, because I was one of those who appeared in the first 2013 mains only, so that time used to be discussion, everybody is discussing नो, अनलेस यू अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन सिंपैथी, एम्पैथी एंड कंपैशन, आपका एथिक्स का प्रिपरेशन हुआ ही नहीं. Everybody, even now people are discussing ethics कर रहे हो, tell me what is difference between it. UPSC has never asked this question. They are using empathy and compassion in the same statement. Basically what they are thinking is, you need to have that aspect, not just objectivity that is going to be helpful, not just efficiency going to be helpful, you need to be compassionate. Why you need to be compassionate? Because you are not robots. Though you are required to be rational, you are not robots. So rationality is also very important, objectivity is also very important, but then if you are rational, can you be compassionate? If you are objective, can you be compassionate? Difficult, but you have to be, because you are a human being. So sitting there, you are required to have all these things. That's why they have asked. Don't get into the unnecessary technicalities, because they are never asked this. As I said, no, what's the difference between tolerance and acceptance? Again, it's a theoretical. They would be question, tolerating someone and accepting someone. Why do you think accepting refugees is more ethical than tolerating? This question may come, but they will not ask what's the difference between tolerance and acceptance. But we prepare like that. Tolerance is this, acceptance is this. That is starting point, and we start there. So that should not happen. Anyway, yes, I was asking about emotional intelligence. Why emotional intelligence? It's part of syllabus. And then why not other psychological issues? Is emotional intelligence ethical value? How many of you think it's one of the ethical values? Emotional intelligence. No, okay. तो सब्जेक्टिव है तो एथिकल वैल्यू नहीं हो सकती. ओके, वो बाद में बात करें. व्हाट इज सब्जेक्टिव, ऑब्जेक्टिव, आई विल एक्सप्लेन ड्यूरिंग माय लेक्चर. बट एनीवे, आई गॉट योर पॉइंट. एनीबॉडी एल्स? Emotional intelligence is ethical value. It is an ethical value. Okay. What about you? Okay, good. So basically, yes, you want to say something? Yes, it is more like a capacity, instrument, tool or skill. But yes, if you have that, it helps the other person more. Because emotional intelligence can be used negatively. Because if I understand your emotion, I can control you also. I know this makes you angry. So हम उसको क्या बोलते हैं? Mind game कर रहा है वो, mind game. Like that we say, use this word. So emotional intelligence and you will be very surprised when we will discuss emotional intelligence as to why, from where this emotional intelligence suddenly come up. We will discuss that. Very interesting. Private sector से कैसे वो आया, corporate sector में पहले आया, फिर बाद में government में आया, क्यों आया? ठीक है. It has no great, like integrity is a very, very in-depth, very morally superior concept. Okay, honesty, integrity, responsibility, sense of service. In that context, emotional intelligence उसका कोई इतना importance नहीं है. वो देखते हैं, important मतलब वैसे नहीं, हम बात करेंगे. You want to say something? हाँ, वो कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में शुरू हुआ. कुछ नहीं, बस दोनों झगड़ा कर रहे हैं तो हमारा काम इम्पैक्ट ना हो, तो क्या करें, इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस लो, कितना भी गुस्सा आ जाओ, नो प्रॉब्लम. ऑल इज वेल टाइप सिचुएशन है. सेल्फ you understand somebody else's emotion, that okay, this particular thing might. Emotional intelligence is basically all the questions that they have asked is with respect to anger only. You see, most of the questions that anger is a wrong emotion or a bad emotion. Mahatma Gandhi ka ek quote. So basically it is to control anger so that office works perfectly fine. Otherwise uske misuse ke bare mein zyada baat nahi. Anyway, contributions of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. ये बेसिकली कहाँ पे आएगा क्वेश्चन? इससे जो क्वेश्चन आएंगे मोस्टली कोट्स आते हैं मोस्टली. नाउ इस पे हम करेंगे डिटेल में बात. यहाँ पे जो है ना, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज, लेसन्स एंड लाइव्स ऑफ टीचिंग्स ऑफ द ग्रेट लीडर्स, रिफॉर्मर्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स, ये पर्सनैलिटीज कौन है और ये पर्सनैलिटीज कौन है? ये वाले, और ये
पहले वाले शायद कार्टो वाले
ये गांधी, अंबेडकर, there are some who are in common, Vivekanand and all the IAS officers, or I mean bureaucrats and other social workers. Here, somebody like Kant, Aristotle, Buddha, yes, Vardhaman Mahavir, and to some here also some aspect of Gandhiji also falls here because he is also philosopher to some extent. Ambedkar is also philosopher to some extent, but they are more relevant here. Lessons from lives of the teaching great leaders. So great leaders में गांधी जी ज्यादातर आते हैं. यहाँ पे कांट, मिल, ठीक है, एंड एज आई सेड बुद्धा, वो सब आते हैं. ये भी क्लियर होना बहुत जरूरी है कि पर्सनैलिटीज व्हाट पर्सपेक्टिव. तो यहाँ पे जो सवाल, इससे जो सवाल आते हैं वो आते हैं जो लाइक वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन दैट इज मीन्स जस्टिफाइड, रॉन्ग मीन्स जस्टिफाइड फॉर राइट एंड, दैट काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन कमिंग फ्रॉम हियर. And the other side mostly quotes. Here also some quotes, but these would be then very technical quotes. We have not received any quote of Aristotle, I mean about ethics. I think one or two, एक या दो ही आया है. एक आया था unexamined life not worth living, वो आया हुआ है, but it is still more about inspiring you to be ethical rather than explaining what ethics is. Like deontological, as I said, or golden mean, that kind of quote won't come because quote. No, that's the discussion mostly because some of the people you will not even knowing who is this person. No problem. What is the quote saying? What it means to you is what the question is. वो हमने बात किया ना already. He asked this question, that question. ठीक है? And case study is on above issues. Now, what do you understand by the word case study or case for that matter? Okay, this is one way of looking at it. Problem, situation है, solve करना है. Okay. Okay. Now, have you heard this word called case by case? Case by case basis. कहाँ है? नहीं सुना है? कहाँ सुना है? Okay, okay, no problem. In your current affairs, you might have heard this case by case. Case by case, okay. Courts also talk about sometimes, you know, there is no rules, we'll decide case by case. Means what? They are recognizing that every case is unique and you cannot have one straw or one paint solution, one brush solution for all. Most of the time ये basic thought ही हम भूल जाते हैं. हर केस स्टडी को एक ही तरह देखने की कोशिश. केस का मतलब ही है कि अलग है. तो केस स्टडी के लिए कोई थियोरेटिकल बुक दे रहा है तो सबसे टाइम आपका अगर किसी को खराब करना है, इफ आई समबडी वांट टू वेस्ट योर टाइम, स्पेशली दोज राइटिंग मेंस, उसको केस स्टडी के एनालिसिस, व्हाट इज केस स्टडी एंड ऑल दैट काइंड ऑफ बुक्स दे दो, वो टाइम वेस्ट हो जाएगा. बिकॉज देयर केस स्टडी का भी आप एक यूनिवर्सल नॉलेज लेने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. क्या मतलब है कि केस स्टडी क्या होती है, कैसे बनती है, क्या मतलब है उसका? कोई मतलब नहीं है. केस सीधा ले लो, सॉल्व करने की शुरू करो. बिकॉज एक केस सॉल्व करे इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि दूसरी केस यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व. नो, नॉट नेसेसरली. जिंदगी में वन डिसीजन इफ यू टुक राइट, दैट डजंट मीन अदर डिसीजन विल बी ऑटोमेटिक राइट बिकॉज इट डिपेंड्स ऑन दैट डिसीजन सिचुएशन. बट यस, देयर आर सम अंडरलाइंग एथिकल कंसर्न व्हिच आर throughout all the case studies, and that is nothing but our paper, theoretical part of the case. So every case is a unique, new, particular, and look that particular case from that point of view. Philosophically, as I saying, underlying philosophical value same रहेंगे. No case study you are going to say that this time I will lie, it's okay. Never going to say that. Or accountability is not that important, but efficiency is. We are never going to say that because accountability is primary. Efficiency can be improved tomorrow, not at the cost of accountability. Like that. Okay? What's the difference between, by the way, accountability and responsibility? अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए ये सवाल नहीं आने वाला, बस एटलीस्ट फॉर सेक ऑफ, नहीं तो आप बोले कि आप खुद ही पूछ रहे हैं ऐसे सवाल जो नहीं आने वाले. दिस इज फॉर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. यस, टू द एक्सटेंट like almost correct. So basically, if you are responsible, your accountability mechanism would not be a hurdle for you. If you work with sense of responsibility, you will not be bothering about accountability. But in administration, responsibility is not enough. Accountability is also. That's why probity. As I said initially, it's not that just you have to do right things. You have to maintain the records in such a way that you have done right. This is very, you might have heard this in history also. Gandhiji used to say, how many years he was there in Africa? नहीं पता. रिसेंटली वो ये किया ना हमारे ऑनरेबल अपोजिशन लीडर, वो यूएस गए थे तो उन्होंने बोला था कि इट्स नॉट इंडिया हु गेव गांधी, अफ्रीका हु गेव अस गांधी. हु सेड मतलब ऐसा कोई बहुत कौड़ा कमेंट नहीं है. आई एम आस्किंग हु वाज द पर्सन. Rahul Gandhi had said. The question may be asked about his, contribution in Africa and what he did in Africa, because he was almost 20 years he was in Africa, and that too, he was, I think 1 or 2 years he was planned, 1 year something like that, 1 or 2 years he would have planned, maybe 3 years maximum, and he was about to come back. टिकट्स भी हो गई थी एक तरीके से. उस समय किसकी टिकट, कौन सी वाली टिकट्स होंगी? शिप्स की, वो 5 महीने 6 महीने ट्रेवल वाली. तो टिकट्स भी हो गई थी, बट देन समथिंग ऑफ दिस सॉर्ट हैपेंड वेयर ही वाज रिक्वायर्ड देयर सोशली. सो ही स्टार्टेड पुटिंग, इज लाइक कैंसिल अ टिकट, एंड उस पर थोड़ा इशू खत्म करते हैं. कोई जनरल स्मट था, वो कोई लॉ लेके आया था विद रिस्पेक्ट टू नॉन वाइट्स अबाउट देयर मैरिज एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट, मेनी इशूज. आई कार्ड होना चाहिए, विदाउट आई कार्ड नहीं घूम सकते, लाइक दैट. Then he started protest, and then he had to stay another 15, 20, 18 years there. And then when he came back, what was his age approximately? When he landed on Indian soil, calculate नहीं करो, normally पूछ रहा हूँ, like at what stage of his life he was? 45 around, 43, 45 around. So he was like almost lived his prime youth and then come. So वो जो आए तभी वो बापू थे, at that age only. How many of you have seen the movie Gandhi by in which Ben Kingsley has acted? Very good movie. Time अभी तो time नहीं होगा, but it helps because there are some statements that he says we can straight away go and quote. I mean, opposing the foreign rule, supporting the foreign rule is evil actually. Or following whatever foreign rule is going to be always evil, and opposing evil is my duty. So you go. Very, very, so articulate he was. Nobody can beat him. Just imagine somebody who was articulate in their language, English. He was so articulate. You can't beat him. And he came with a new approach altogether. It's like this: I am going to disobey you with respect. They have never seen somebody like this happening. That if I want to oppose you, obviously I am very angry and very demeaning to you. In that level, if you are doing, you are massacring Indians, how much anger I should be having? I will be like, बंदूक दे दो अभी गोली मार दो इसको. He was like, with due respect to you and with genuine respect in my heart for you, because you are not doing anything wrong. You are a victim of your passion. So I am going to disobey because it's my duty. You want to imprison me? No issues at all. Not a single trace of anger. This was unheard of for the British. Oh my God, what kind of person is this? They are like, they started thinking that इस person के psychology पे ही PhD करनी पड़ेगी. That was his greatness. So, but only thing is not that he is the only person who did everything. That we already know by now. 2014 के बाद तो और अच्छे से पता चल गया सबको. But this particular thing was very unknown to others. This is the greatest contribution that he has. Just imagine somebody who can love his enemy like this. Somebody, how many of you can genuinely love Nawaz Sharif? Or for example, someone who is from Kashmir would have seen somebody died in front of him because of terrorist activity, family member or something. How much love the person can have for Pakistan as administration or politics. But still Gandhi is saying no problem, because his point was, why to do violence? Anyway you are killing us. it's okay, but we will not this thing, and that is the reason we still have a very good relationship with Britain. Very now, though it's very good. Okay, because when they left also there was no enmity. Anyway, वो history में बाद में जाएंगे. So ये case study वाला समझ में आ गया? Okay, so ये course का use कैसे करेंगे? First, as I already said, perspective. कि ethics paper को और ethical concepts को you need to see in a political perspective, which is very straightforward, simple, non-complicated, non-theoretical, more practical. So what happens if you like more and more you sit in the class, automatically even a simple thing that you see on the tea shop, you think this is also an example for the ethics, why not? I am saying any small thing, you see something happening in metro, that's also ethical. And then when very small incidences you need to quote, that comes handy. Rather than that also searching in some topper's note. You know, recently somebody was telling me, one of my students, he was listening to some topper, and the topper was saying that this is the biggest myth that toppers know. And I agree to that particular topper, where he says these are notes. After that I became topper. So it's not topper's notes, it is notes. It helps, but you should have your own notes and be topper, like that. Otherwise, because what is notes? Why do make notes, by the way? Again, this is general, not just for ethics, in general. Why do we make notes? Especially in optional, you need to, except maybe mathematics, but yes, for your sake, not for, because UPSC is not going to ask, okay, submit your notes also, we want to check the quality of your notes. No, your notes can be, it is very subjective, it has to be subjective, and all the more in ethics. So you can have your own examples which nobody heard of. Very good. Keep collecting that. And notes is something mostly which is something that is not able to fit here for time being, you are putting on paper. Because अगर इधर ही आते तो पेपर पे क्यों लिखेंगे? Some factual data, some connections. Maybe after 6 days again I am going to visit. I may not remember, so I have notes. Otherwise, if you are going to write everything on the note, then might as well read NCERT again. What's the problem? Book already है तो book ही read थोड़ी करेंगे. इधर जाने के लिए सब कुछ. Like that, ethics में तो इतना भी करने की no need to do it, because you already read newspapers. Okay, like for example, how many of you know about the breaking news from Maharashtra yesterday? Okay, most of you know. Now question may come, why the credibility of politics is going down? Credibility. Ethical वो नहीं है, वो सबको पता है. Because ये question आ चुका है, by the way. Have you, anybody remembers about politics? Question has already been there in ethics. Why youth is not willing to join politics is the question in ethics. 2015, I guess. And like for example, those who are very honest, efficient, straightforward, and we have. I can tell you in India, especially youth, which includes all of you, mostly all are ethical. They are responsible. They try to educate themselves. They have their own ways of enjoying their life. That's a different story. But most of you, and especially UPSC करने वाले तो mostly सब sensible ही होते हैं as compared to the general youth. But point is, if you ask anybody who is so knowledgeable in your friend circle, which includes you also by the way, tomorrow, 1 year, 2 years down the line, you are going to be really one of the most knowledgeable person, even if you are not part of the system. बोलते ना कि हारा हुआ हाथी भी 1.25 लाख का होता है. वॉर में हाथी की अपनी इनहेरेंट वैल्यू होती है. हार भी गया अदर साइड, the other side will take the elephant because उसकी अपनी वैल्यू है. Like that UPSC में, even if you don't get through also, you are already there with respect to you interact with the people, those who are not into UPSC thing, you will realize that उनको कुछ नहीं पता, which is okay. My point is, people, youngsters who are very good at their heart, very much knowledgeable, but if you ask about politics, they are like, वो छोड़ो, वो नहीं है. क्यों? It's not their problem, it's a social issue. That was the question. Normally what we do, we say that nobody wants to get into the dirty politics because nobody wants to dirty their hands. But then who would clean it? This is the ethical sawal, like what they asked in Nayak movie. है ना, कि तुम इसमें नहीं तो कैसे होगा, बट people are not ready to come into politics. This was the issue in 2014-15, but अभी थोड़ा कम हो गया. You know, what is the example of counter to this argument that youngsters is not ready to come? Exactly. He is the best example, not just he. You see his team, most of them are youngsters and new faces. Successful, not successful, policies सही गलत वो बात छोड़ो. But youngsters who wanted to do something can come into politics. ठीक है. Anyway, तो हम क्या जो भी बात कर रहे थे ठीक है, अभी इतना ही है. तो पर्सपेक्टिव बिल्ड करें, प्रैक्टिस करें, डिस्कस. अभी तो फिर भी आज कम है, थोड़ा इनिशियल लेक्चर है. यू हैव टू ईदर रेज क्वेश्चंस और टेल, कीप स्पीकिंग, अदरवाइज कोई मतलब नहीं. एथिक्स में तो बिल्कुल नहीं. ठीक है. तो यू हैव टू डिस्कस क्वेश्चंस एंड आई विल ऑलवेज वेलकम समबडी हु इज one step ahead of me in the sense of writing or anything. वही question, before I ask only the student is asking question means already you are doing being on the track. Answer writing तो हम कर ही लेंगे. Readiness to tackle the unexpected question, ये पूरा ethics ही पूरा यही है, like ऐसे. ठीक है, क्योंकि every question will be unexpected मान के. It is not going to be the same. Some topics वो हो जाएंगे. कोर्स का तो पता ही है, 20 लेक्चर्स होंगे, जिसमें से 5 लेक्चर्स एक्चुअली लेक्चर्स नहीं है, बेसिक लेक्चर्स हैं, बट पीवाईक्यू सॉल्व करना है, तो उसमें सॉल्व करेंगे, डिस्कस करेंगे, सॉल्व लाइक दैट, लिखना आई मीन. तो बेसिकली लेक्चर्स जो है, टिपिकल लेक्चर्स द वे इट्स गोइंग नाउ, इट इज 15. आंसर राइटिंग, so every barring first 1 or 2 lectures, if once minimum syllabus is covered, every day will start with first 5 to 7 minutes writing one question. You have to write, because my छड़ी लेके बस एक ही है कि आप लिखो, सही गलत बाद में देखेंगे. If you start writing by the end of 15th of August, when perhaps your all other tests is also over, you will be more than confident for your ethics. ठीक है. वीकली भी हम एक टेस्ट लेंगे, ये टेस्ट सीरीज का पार्ट नहीं, ये अपना टेस्ट है. ठीक है, अपने लेवल पे. दोज हु आर कमिंग फॉर द क्लास, कोर्ट्स पे एक्सपोजिशन होगा, केस स्टडीज पे होगा, पीवाईक्यू होगा, द होल ऑलमोस्ट अ वीक. हाँ, एंड दोज हु जीएस टेस्ट सीरीज से भी कंपल्ड है. हाँ, मंडे टू फ्राइडे 8 AM, दैट्स ऑल. एनी प्रॉब्लम विद 8 AM? वेरी गुड. सेक्शनल टेस्ट वो तो टेस्ट सीरीज जैसा ही पार्ट है. ठीक है. एंड मटेरियल भी मिल जाएगा, जो बेसिक प्रिंटेड मटेरियल भी मिल जाएगा, जो एकदम बेसिक होता है, कीवर्ड्स एक्सप्लेन किए हैं, पर्सनालिटी एक्सप्लेन किए हैं, एंड कुछ एनरिचमेंट मटेरियल भी देंगे. एनरिचमेंट मटेरियल इज लाइक एवरी टाइम यू हैव टू मेक न्यू सम एग्जांपल, सम थिंग्स लाइक दैट. सो डू यू थिंक नाउ एनीथिंग, वी ऑलरेडी डिस्कस अबाउट लेक्चर्स वेयर क्लैरिटी, आंसर राइटिंग, वीकली, टेस्ट सीरीज, मटेरियल. डू यू थिंक एनीथिंग एल्स यू नीड और यू हैव टाइम फॉर ethics? We can include if you want. Expectation and time, because you cannot do it like foundation. And some basic concepts, very basic, so I am not going to ask this thing, but whatever your doubt, I will be trying to clear that. I can literally guarantee you one-stop solution means one-stop solution. There is nothing that you should go back to. Any book, nothing. You might have read anything, just, I am not saying remove everything from your head, just keep it aside. Focus on only thing that you should be having very handy to you is syllabus and PYQs, and write and show it to me. Apart from my tests, apart from blah 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 test series, you want to join test series, you join more test series. If you want, you can write more tests. I have no issue. But I don't think any more than what we are going to do along with the class, you are required to do at all anything. Literally anything. Yes, newspaper you are reading. You will automatically acquire the ability to recognize कि ये न्यूज़ एथिक्स के काम की है. That's all. यही है जिंदगी. I mean ethics की प्रिपरेशन इतनी है. And you should have some. This is otherwise also. Let me tell you, you should have some small diary. Most of you already would be having those who gave mains also, where all your things, very factual things, very like facts, quotes, diagrams, statement, which you may not remember verbatim. So like some diary that you, before going to GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, for 15 minutes you should be going. That helps a lot, because then only those things, quotes as it is, you can remember. And these are like very general ones, so you can use it anywhere, especially essay and ethics. So that small diary should always be with you. This is like a रिवीजन का भी छोटा कैप्सूल. रिवीजन तो टॉपिक का होता है, लाइक हिस्ट्री का रिवाइज किया, ज्योग्राफी रिवाइज किया, वो तो ठीक, सोसाइटी पेपर 1 हो गया. बट उसके अलावा भी जस्ट गो थ्रू एंड यू नेवर नो व्हाट you get a chance to quote where, and especially in ethics it works, ऐसे it works. ओके, तो वो डायरी आपके पास हो, उसमें ज्ञान नहीं है, थ्योरी कुछ नहीं है, उसमें क्या होगा, सिर्फ फैक्ट्स, कोट्स एंड ये एज आई सेड something that you have searched while reading newspaper, something that you have compiled while reading things. Apart from that, you will get compilation from us also, from me also. ठीक है, so 5 lectures will try to touch upon all the philosophical, or basically philosophical is not a very right word, but normally that's what we say, philosophical, for bad or governance, like that. Basics, human values, first 3 chapters basically, which includes attitude and all, everything, technical one. Governance, you know, all the ethics in governance or public administration. Then whole week we'll be discussing about case studies, around 3 to 5 case studies per lecture we can touch upon. So let us see, at least 25 to 30 case studies we will be trying to solve inside the class. Apart from that, there will be every day 1 case study for you to solve. If you solve, it's best. And apart from that, during PYQs also we'll be touching on case study. And in addition to that is your test series. Like every test series will have 6 case studies. Every test will have 6 case studies. All, so there, I think how much, 5 tests, right? 2 sectional, 3 comprehensive, I guess. 3 sectional, 2 comprehensive. So every test will have a case studies. So more, at least 100 case studies you will touch, solving. Okay, and this is more than enough. ठीक है, तो मेरी तरफ से इतना ही है. बाकी आप कुछ सवाल है तो बताइए. नेक्स्ट लेक्चर विल बी ऑन थर्सडे 8 AM, गुरुवार को. सही तो लिखा है ना? हाँ, सही लिखा. एनी डाउट्स इफ यू हैव, प्लीज आस्क. नो टेक्निकल, आई मीन नो एथिक्स के डाउट, जनरल मॉड्यूल के डाउट. एथिक्स के डाउट तो क्लास में करेंगे. एथिक्स के हो गए बीच में कि अभी भी मुझे ऑनेस्टी और इंटीग्रिटी का फर्क समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. दैट इज नॉट व्हाट आई एम आस्किंग नाउ. आई एम आस्किंग एनी डाउट यू हैव विद रिस्पेक्ट टू मॉड्यूल. यस, हाँ, आई थिंक चैनल ऑलरेडी है. आई लास्ट, बिकॉज चैनल तो पहले से ही है, बट इसका क्लास का लॉजिस्टिकल प्रॉब्लम्स के लिए, आई मीन लॉजिस्टिकल इश्यूज के लिए क्लास है नहीं है, हाँ, उसके लिए तो व्हाट्सअप आई थिंक होगा. देखते हैं वो जो भी बनाएंगे, वो तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इश्यू है, यू डोंट वरी दैट. एब्सोल्युटली, बिकॉज आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ यू ऑलरेडी स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ लेवलअप. सो यू, एनीबडी हु इज नॉट एसोसिएटेड विद लेवलअप एट ऑल, so no problem, you will get the things. Absolutely no issues. Logistically absolutely no issues. In fact my number would be there with you, so if you have, sir ये मैंने लिख दिया, थोड़ा देख लो, no problem, WhatsApp पे भेज दो. आजकल टेक्नोलॉजी है, you know, if you want to discuss, there will be some specific time, mostly you know, after the lecture we can discuss for half an hour, like every day. Apart from that also you can ask me whether Saturday Sunday I am available. If you think you have written a lot, no problem. और ये हमेशा एक मेंस के स्टूडेंट्स के लिए एक चैलेंज होता ही है. बीट फिलोसफी में मैं लेता हूँ यहाँ पे एथिक्स का, कि कौन, यू नो, हु गेट्स टायर्ड, लेट अस सी, लाइक वेदर द राइटर, ऑल ऑफ यू, अगेंस्ट द वन हु इवैल्यूएट्स, रिव्यू, नॉट इवैल्यूएशन एवरी टाइम, एटलीस्ट रिव्यू कि क्या सही क्या गलत किया, तो कौन थकता है देखते हैं. दैट्स द चैलेंज आई ऑलवेज कीप. तो आप इतना लिखो कि मैं थक जाऊँ कि बस यार इतना तो मैं नहीं कर पाऊँ. लेट अस सी इफ दैट कम्स, बिकॉज दैट इज डायरेक्टली लिंक टू योर, सी, ट्राई टू you know, this is, I was talking about Mr. Descartes. तो उसका एक मेथड था, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम सामने आ जाए, ठीक है, दैट इज हिज फिलोसॉफिकल मेथड. सो फर्स्ट ब्रेक इट डाउन, इसको रिडक्शनिज्म बोलते हैं। तो यूपीएससी में सिलेक्ट होना एक प्रॉब्लम जैसा है, आगे सिचुएशन, बट उसको ब्रेक करो। सिलेक्शन इज नॉट अ ब्रॉड थिंग, एक्चुअली वेरी माइन्यूट थिंग। तो कौन से पेपर में कौन से टॉपिक में मार्क्स आ सकते हैं, कैसे, वो एवरीथिंग इफ यू बाइफरगेट यू रियलाइज इसमें मार्क्स नहीं आएंगे, ऐसे में मार्क्स नहीं आएंगे। इंटरव्यू तो छोड़ो, आपके हाथ में ही नहीं है, उसका उस समय देखेंगे, उसका भी आई जनरली गाइड पीपल फॉर द इंटरव्यू ऑल्सो, सो दैट यू डोंट वरी एट ऑल। ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज ethics ka, if you like, again as I challenged about this course, let me tell you, anybody among you who can write all the questions from 2013 to 2022, you know, all the questions yourself and nothing else read or written, still you cannot get less than 100. कुछ नहीं किया, बस उतना ही किया, बट रिव्यू करना पड़ेगा। मतलब इफ यू राइट समथिंग वी शुड बी एबल टू चेक कि ये सही जा रहे हैं या नहीं जा रहे हैं, बस इतना देख। बट सो दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग। यस, यू वांट टू आस्क समथिंग? दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग। बट क्या होता है उससे, नॉर्मली नाउ यू मे नॉट बी हैविंग टाइम टू, इफ यू स्टक समवेयर लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल अंडरस्टैंडिंग वाइज, तो यू मे नॉट बी हैविंग टाइम टू गो बैक टू बुक एंड ट्राई टू रीड। तो इसलिए क्लासेस में क्या होता है, थोड़ा सा इमीडिएटली टच अपन होके कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी आ जाती है। So it helps you to immediately, it speeds up your efforts to write the answer. Yes. Yeah. So what I would suggest is, yes, there is a point, but don't do it now. Start writing now, because what will happen when you start writing the way, because it's very subjective thing. So if subjective thing, what happens? The person is written with a high subjectivity, you get into the person's subjectivity unnecessarily. So you can do that just for enrichment. Now the word enrichment means, automatically means, inherently, that you already done a major work yourself. Then only enrichment happens. No? See, like you want to enrich your answer, and what is your answer now? It is 0. So it's not enrichment, then it is a starting point. So you come up with your things first, and the same answers if somebody has written, because the problem is questions are also, to be very honest, not all the questions that you get in the markets are worthy enough. कुछ भी कभी कभी पूछ लेते हैं, एक one liner, two liner, like there is no context. question बनाना आंसर लिखने से ज्यादा टफ काम है, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, especially in ethics, the toughest job is to make a case study. It's a very tough thing. Why? Because we cannot just write anything. The other side should not have any confusion after reading it. It's like writing an article, no confusion. So questions, if you really want to see toppers, possibly see what their answers to the PYQs. Possibly, because as I said, जब टॉपर्स लिखते हैं तो वो उनको भी नहीं पता था ना कि वो टॉपर है, वो तो ऐसे आपके जैसे ही लिखे हैं, फायदा होगा, बट दैट यू कैन डू आफ्टर अगस्त, आई मीन 15 अगस्त के बाद कर सकते, इट विल हेल्प यू लिटिल बिट. बट PYQs, even toppers, if you want to see, as I said, go for PYQs what they have written, because वो इधर उधर का लिखते हैं तो फिर वो क्वेश्चन ही इतना सही नहीं रहता. मैं आई हैव गॉन थ्रू मेनी, बिकॉज स्टूडेंट्स लेके आते हैं सर किसी और पिछले साल में किसी और टेस्ट सीरीज में था, उसके कुछ आंसर, तो क्वेश्चन ही मतलब ऐसा हाफ हार्टेड टाइप से, तो उसमें आंसर क्या ही लिखोगे, ऐसा हो जाता. तो इसलिए PYQs, बट वी ट्राई आवर बेस्ट टू मैच द PYQ, मतलब द सिंप्लिसिटी ऑफ द PYQ and the difficulty of both should be matched. You cannot just create very tough questions like that. Anyway, anything else? ठीक है then. चलिए, thank you very much for your time and hope to see you on 6th. Thank you.